Welcome back to Worn Out Racing. We're taking the Lemon back to Camber sprint course, so it's time to throw some chassis mods at the car and a few other little bits as well to get this thing on point for some track action. Yep, you know, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you will know that I love a bit of track action, and I've only really taken it up in the last couple of years since starting the channel. You'll also know from watching the channel for long enough that any other time that I've done track days on the channel, it's usually been with some kind of budget, fun have a kind of car that I've thrown together with bits I had on the shelf. My first one, the 900cc Slug, I built that with just some old sporting shocks, some free Spax rear shocks I had, some other braces, some cheap Uniroyal Rain Sport tyres I had on a set of 14-inch wheels. I absolutely hammered the car and it was fantastic. Was it good on track? Not really, but it didn't matter. And then last year I took the Lemon. Was it last year? Yes. Last year I took the Lemon, and again, much more suited car, but it still had a lot of problems. I had blown out rear shocks and a few other things. It just wasn't quite right. Massive amount of fun, but this time I would like to be slightly more competitive. I'm not saying I think I'm going to be not at the bottom, because let's face it, with 900cc's, I'm not going to be killing anybody. But likewise, I would like to think I was putting up a decent fight. So it's time to take the gloves off and throw some mods on it. First quick job I'm going to do off camera is to replace the coolant temperature sensor. After I've removed and replaced the thermostat in a previous video, I snapped the sensor, so I put an old one in it, and I've noticed that the fuel in and the miles per gallon have been going down progressively, so I'm not sure that one's up to snuff. So I'm going to do that off camera. You don't need to see it. Next thing we're going to do is upgrade the brakes. As a driver, I feel like I'm pretty light on brakes anyway. I think I'm pretty smooth. I don't tend to brake really hard and late, but I feel like also there's a reason people do it, because it's a fast way around a track. So I've got these brand new discs and EBC green stuff pads. Now, I've heard different reviews about EBC green stuff pads or EBC pads in general. I like them. They've always done really well. They're really affordable and they're actually really good on road as well. So that's the ones that are going to be going on it. They should help, even though the ones on it aren't too bad at the moment. Right, next up, it's going to be these Camber box. Now, I got these ones from Powerflex. The White Line do some as well, I believe. They're really not very expensive. Anyone who doesn't know what a camber bolt is, essentially it replaces one of the two bolts that holds your shocks onto your hub. And just because of the design of the bolt, it's kind of like an oval kind of shape. It allows the bolt to kind of move in and out like this. So you can kind of move your hub either further in or further out for negative or positive camber. Why you'd ever want to put positive camber on it, no one's guess. But either way, they should give me around -1, -5 negative camber. Don't worry if you don't know what that means. It just means the wheel's going to be tipped in a bit more, which is good when you go around a corner. Just means your tyre tends to stay a little flatter on the road and it doesn't roll over onto the outside of your tyre, thus giving you less grip. So we're going to throw those on, max them onto the maximum negative camber they can go to. That should help. And the biggest one, or at least I've been told to be the biggest one, you would have seen in a previous episode. If you haven't, go and take a look. I'll put a link in the description. I told you how to build a custom rear anti-roll bar setup for your Fiat Cinquecento or Seicento using off-the-shelf parts, Ford, Audi, all kinds of things. So I finished it off. I finally bought the last couple of bits that I needed, which was basically some new brackets to bolt it on and some poly bushes off of a Volkswagen, no less. So we're going to be digging all that out and I'm going to be fitting that to the back of the car after I've painted it. It should make a huge difference, especially because my one's got an uprated anti-roll bar on the front. And again, don't worry if you don't understand the chassis side of things, but generally speaking, they put an anti-roll bar on cars on the front, at least on a front-wheel drive car, because it gives it a little bit more tendency to understeer, makes it a little bit more safe, etc., etc. So if you put an anti-roll bar on the back as well, it returns that kind of more neutral handling. You can usually kick the back end a little bit round in it, that kind of thing. But obviously where mine's thicker on the front, it's almost made the problem worse. So I'm going to have one that's equally sized on the rear. And this should, hopefully, liven my handling up beautifully. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about how you actually replace your brake disc because it's pretty straightforward and you can find this in your manual and stuff anyway. Usually there is just a screw somewhere on your front disc that removes it. Obviously I've got spacers on mine and I don't think I've even got the screws in, so it's nice and easy. But generally speaking, there's just one pin down here you have to pull out that lets this lever up, put some new pads in. The new ones actually come with some special stick-on plates, but you can put some grease or something on the back just so it doesn't squeak too badly. Now these ones aren't terrible, but but the new ones will definitely do the trick. So we'll do these first, and then we'll move on to the camber bolts, and then one other job that I've just remembered that I need to do. Little top tip for you: once you've done the dirty bit, swap to clean gloves so you don't get all oil and stuff on your new disc. And obviously don't forget to clean them with some kind of alcohol or brake cleaner or something to get that kind of oil surfacing on. Now I will say I'm actually really impressed with these Febby Bilstein discs. Even though they're stock discs, they've got this nice cross hatching on to help bed the brakes in, and then this rust-free coating on the outer sides. So it's pretty sweet. So these are green stuff pads I've got. They said they come with these little stickers now, rather than a grease on the outside. So I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think it was necessarily needed. And these have got a special bedding in sort of material on them as well. So all I'm going to do is just push the pistons back into the caliper, slide these in, and then at least the brakes are done on this side. All right, all done. Next up, camber bolts. Now this one's going to replace the top bolt of these two here. Now I won't be going into too much detail about how these actually work and how to fit them, but I am going to give you a link. If you go to my playlist under how to, there is a really good video in there, about 3 minutes long, explains exactly how these work, how to set them up, how to fit them and stuff like that. But like I said, fundamentally all it's doing is just replacing one fat bolt with a slightly thinner bolt with a thick section on it that's kind of cam shaped, and it just helps you push that hub in and out. So I will fit it, and I will show you it fitted on there. But yeah, check out the video before you fit them, because it is really good. Go into too much detail on this, but I did struggle to get the camber bolts in. So I'm going to speak to some friends who've done it before to see if there's a knack or something I'm doing wrong. If not, I'll just give it to the wheel alignment place for them to fit it when they actually do it. But the one thing I did notice is I've just got some surface rust creeping in here. I've already taken a drill to it just to get all around the actual bit to fresh metal. Now I'm going to redo the inside of these arches at some point anyway, like completely strip them back and do it all. So all I'm going to do is just wire brush this back now, chuck some rust encapsulator on it just to keep it going good for now, just so it doesn't get too much worse. And at some point we'll come in and I said we'll take these arches off, take the whole bit off and do it all properly. There you go, just like that. It's like it hasn't happened, and now protect that for a few more months at least until the other project is done and we can take this bad boy off the road. So that's pretty much this side done. I'll do everything like that on the other side. Right, happy to report this side went pretty well. This caliper is definitely looking a bit crusty, but thankfully, apart from this little bit which I think I treated ages ago, everything is looking pretty good in here, so I don't think I'm going to mess around trying to rush treat anything yet. And I worked out what I was doing wrong with the camber bolt. A little bit tricky to explain, but essentially what I did this time was I didn't worry about the rotation of this cam washer here. I just basically span it until I could finally get the bolt to go in, and then what I've done then is follow the instructions on the video that I mentioned of getting this facing the right way and the lobe facing the right way, which I drew a little line to make sure I did. And if you look, you can now see that rather than this being flush up to here, it's now a few more mil facing inwards, which means essentially now I've tipped that in. Now you can see it moving in and out as you turn the bolt. I've just turned it until it's stopped going in, so in theory that should be maxed out now. So now I can confidently go and do the other side, and we're only dealing with like a little bit of degrees here and there. I think I should get it pretty spot on, even without the alignment, which I will get done inevitably. So either way, top work. I worked it out. Right, now that's done, before we move on to the rear anti-roll bar, I did just want to touch on this a little bit more, just because I think it'll be useful even after watching the video that I watched. One of the things I will say is just draw a line on here, which is level with both, which is level with the highest part of the actual cam bolt, and then draw another one which is level with the lowest part, and then just do what I did, just put like a little cross on that one, just so you know when you're actually twisting this, whether you're the highest or the lowest parts at the front or the back. They didn't mention that in the video that I watched. And there's also one other thing that I will say as well. When you watch that other video, you will see that they tell you about lining up this washer, because depending on where this little tab is and stuff like that, that also helps with lining up the bolt. Now, what I made the mistake of trying to do is lining that washer up at the start, getting it exactly where it needed to go, and then trying to get the bolt through, and it's just having none of it. So don't worry about that to start with. When you actually put the bolt through, just turn this washer until it basically, the little tab finds a gap between the bolt and the strut, and eventually you'll find a sweet spot that you can just tap it gently with a hammer and it sort of puts it home. And then what you can do is then just get a hammer. I literally used a tiny little hammer just to tap the wash around until it was the right orientation. So again, I won't go into details necessarily, but I had to have it where the big tab was at the back and the small tab was at the front. Easy gig. After that, it was the doddle. I just turned the bolt until the hub went all the way in and stopped before it started coming back out again. And that's it. So maximum camber as far as I can tell. So way easier than I thought. The video I saw was really, really good. Just missed off that little chestnut of information. So yeah, do that. So that's all done and dusted. So we're going to grab the anti-roll bar out and then we'll have a look at what needs to be done to that before we can fit it. Namely just sanding it back, getting all the rust and the horrible paint stuff on there and then painting it. And then we'll get it fitted on. Don't worry, I will go back through some of the bits that you need as we put it on there. But again, you can go back and look at the video that tells you exactly what parts that you need there from Audi, Volkswagen and Ford. And build your own one for less than £100. I think it was about 70 in fact. So yeah, let's crack on and keep this momentum going. Now, it doesn't look like very much, but this little box of tricks here and this anti-roll bar here will absolutely transform, or so I'm told, the handling on your Cinquecento. So all this stuff is basically brand new, but the anti-roll bar, if I just flip this round, has seen better days. It's very, very rusty in the places where the bushes used to mount. So I know I'll never do it in the future. As much as I said, oh, I'll take it off one day and do it, I won't. So I'm going to do it now. I've got the power file out with a decent grade sandpaper on it. If you don't own one of these, you should absolutely get it because I use it way more than I ever thought I would, literally for everything. So just going to grind it back, and then somewhere around here, as if by magic, and I promise I didn't plan that, is this Ronseal No Rust metal paint. Now, all right, you could argue that I could go a little bit more big time and make it look really, really cool, and I was going to do it yellow, but I might just do it with this, like a hammer finish, so you don't have to worry about getting anything too perfect. And it kind of does this very slightly mottled kind of graphite grey. Before I commit to anything, I will see if I've got enough in there, because if I have to buy some, then I'll buy some yellow instead. So yeah, either way, give me a few minutes while probably a bit more than a few minutes, while I sand this bad boy down, and then we'll get painting. I don't believe in regrets really, but if I did, I would definitely regret doing that indoors. That's a lot of paint to be sanded off into your nicely newly clean and refurbished garage. But it's done, and it's done good enough for what it is. Let's face it, it's an anti-roll bar. You're never going to see it unless you're underneath it fixing it, and by that point you won't care. So I've got all the old paint off, all the really scabby rust and all the horrible bits on there. So I'll get some paint. I've decided just to do it yellow now. I think, you know, if you're going to do it, you may as well do it properly while I'm doing it. So get the two bits of, get that painted, I'll hang it up, and then we'll start figuring out about where the bushes and everything are going to go. Get it on the car. And one day they'll invent a pair of goggles that don't dent your face. And one day I'll also learn not to put them on my forehead while I'm cleaning up, because it leaves massive dents in my face. Good times. Riddle me this. You take your Fiat Cinquecento for a test drive after fixing the brakes and putting your camber bolts on. You park it up. You're a happy boy. You go to bed. You get up the next day to move your car, and it won't start. It turns over. It putts a little bit in places. It's pretty consistent now. It's just how it doesn't start. So you go for all the things because, hey, you're a YouTuber, car expert these days. So I check the fuel. It's getting fuel. I check the spark. It's getting spark, although can't be certain it's that strong. I check the sensors, I check the fuses, I check the relays, I check the earths. I go through multiple checks. I speak to my friends, I speak to my friends' friends. Every single suggestion results in no change whatsoever. So I was very, very confused. And I'm now at the point, probably, I'm going to say 4 days later, where I have gone out to put some fuel down the throttle body. Don't know why I didn't do that sooner. Just to see whether I can rule out whether there's something wrong with the injector, which I've never known on one of these. And then when I turned over this time, I have zero spark at all. None. Not a tiny bit of spark. So my hope, I'm really genuinely hoping, is it's going to be the crank sensor. Maybe the crank sensor has been failing for a little bit and the spark was a bit intermittent or a little bit weak. It wasn't getting a very good signal. And now it's finally given up completely. And now I'm not getting any spark at all. or it will be something else that controls the spark. It's not the ignition coils, because I've already changed one of them to see if that made any difference, and it didn't. So thankfully for you and me, I have two, because I keep things like this because of this exact reason. So I'm going to go out now, I'm going to fit it. If it works, I'll come back and report that it worked and jump up and down for joy. If it doesn't, I'm not going to trouble you with it until I know what the problem is, and then I'll let you know what I did to fix it. So if you ever have a similar problem, you know what it might be. But this is not ideal because I've got a wheel alignment in 2 days and a track day in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's really bad timing. But there you go, people. Sometimes go with your gut instinct. I was going to replace the crank sensor right at the beginning, but because I was still getting spark, I thought if this was broke, I wouldn't be getting any spark. Which is why, when it finally gave up the ghost and I didn't get any spark whatsoever, I thought it was probably this. And it was. It fired up beautifully. And if I'm honest, in a way, it probably wasn't such a bad thing, because I replaced a really, really, really bad HT lead. I don't know what had gone wrong with it, but it was all oxidized and weird one end. And it seems to run even better now than it did before it broke. So there you go. Always keep a crank sensor in stock and it will save your life. So I'm going to order another one of these, get a brand new one. I'll keep that one's second hand, but I mean, you know, it's working for now. I'll get a brand new one of those, and I'm going to order brand new versions of everything else, because I have too many part worn used bits kicking about my garage, HT leads, coil packs, that kind of stuff. And it's handy to have them, so you don't have to buy a new one. But I'm going to have some new ones to take with me on the track days, should anything else decide to give up. So anyway, let's carry on with our plans. I'm going to paint the rear anti-roll bar now. Now, I said I thought about doing it yellow, but actually a bit of necessity is I've got the paint already. I'm on a little bit of a deadline for getting this done, and actually grey looks pretty good, so I'm going to show you it. Now, there is a really good part about this paint. There's a little bit of a disadvantage as well. Now, the good thing about this paint, if you can see, it's already starting to get this kind of like mottled finish. It doesn't look very good in the camera. When it's dry, it looks really good. It's just kind of like dimpled, basically, which is great because it obviously makes even all the imperfections look a little bit better, but it is also a bit of a pain to see where you've missed paint, because obviously it's got little dimples in it. Sometimes you do miss bits, but you can go back and do it afterwards. Sometimes the best thing you can have in life is a little bit of pressure, and I've now added an extra level of pressure into my life to try and get the car ready, courtesy of, shall we say, some heavy peer pressure from some of my car friends. It was so severe, in fact, I filmed a little reenactment to show you what has happened and why I've now signed myself up for something else. There we go. Hello mate, now the Fiat is fixed, are you coming to retro rides at Goodwood Circuit? Oh, probably shouldn't. Spent quite a lot of money recently and I'm trying to get the car ready for the Camber track day soon. Ah, go on. Okay, I'll see you there, nerds. Tickets bought. Okay, I need literally no persuading whatsoever, so I'm making the 2-hour trip down to Goodwood Circuit on Sunday, so I bought Sunday tickets. It is currently Thursday. I haven't washed the car. I still haven't finished doing all the other little bits to it. I still really want to get the anti-roll bar on before then, but obviously I don't want to do anything that's going to stop the car from going to the show, but I'm still going to attempt to do it. So today I'm going to do the anti-roll bar and some other little bits at the back, and then attempt to give the car some kind of wash in the meantime so that I don't look like a complete idiot when I get there. So yes, more things. Well, I'd like to say it's a nice easy job putting this up in there, but I wouldn't lie to you, because it's absolutely terrible, because you have to get the D-clamps up on the beam up there and then hold everything in place so you can bolt it on to the bottom bolts there, which sounds easy, right? I tried this for 2 hours last time, so we'll see how we get on. Just like that. Now luckily I had all the scrapes from where I did it last time to be able to line them up roughly, and this lies the problem. You don't have a lot of thread to get those bushes on, especially on this side for some reason, but I won't be able to show you because it's going to be too much of a pain, so I'll just have to do it in stages. Now, I almost came back on video and took back everything I said, because the right hand side actually went on lovely. As you can tell, maybe not tell by the state of my hands and the cuts I've sustained, the passenger side is not playing ball, and it's exactly what I thought. So I guess because now the anti roll bar is snugged up a little bit on one side, it's now pulling it away on the left, and it will not go on. So I just need to trim off, I reckon, 5mm off of this. It won't change the actual use of the bush itself, so I'm just going to draw a little line across it, put it on my bandsaw, and just hopefully slowly slice a little piece of this off without losing a finger or ruining the bush, because that would be terrible timing to do it now. So I'm going to try and put a little piece of wood on it just to give it some sort of guide, and I'll report back in a moment. Okay, the bandsaw wasn't happy. It turns way too fast, just started melting it. I don't want to be breathing that in. Junior hacksaw time. And this is the difference an anti-roll bar makes on the rear. That's the back right hand side jacked up. And this side is completely off the floor. I've gone in, I've had a wash, which I really needed after that horrible job. I've had a drink, I've had a treat, because I felt like I deserved one, because it was a horrible job. I'd like to tell you otherwise, but it's just not nice. It's not meant to have a rear anti-roll bar on it, so the accessibility of it and stuff is terrible. Driver's side, actually really easy. Passenger side was having none of it. I definitely cut a little bit more out of the bush than I would like to get it to fit, but I think it's more than enough, especially given what it's actually doing and where I had to cut it out. I've got the piece kicking around here somewhere. But either way, when I jacked up that one side to take the ramp out, when I took the ramp out, it barely dropped. It was almost identically level with the other wheel that was up in the air. So, I mean, it's absolutely doing something because it's connecting those sides together. So time will tell how good that ends up being. For now, it just needs to not fall off on my way to the retro rides. So, yes, for now at least, that is the end of this episode. I really genuinely hope you appreciate the mods that I'm throwing at this just to get into this track day. And yeah, I will see you again very soon, in fact, for another episode. See you later.